Study with Steph, cause she's the best. She's gonna help you get your CTS, yeah.
Ain't nothing can keep me down.
Stephanie.
Hello, everyone. Steph Beckett here. We are here with another episode of Study with Steph, where I am attempting to study to get my CTS, and I help you do the same. Joining me today is Tammy Fuqua, who is Developer Partner Manager at QSC, and she's also co-chair of the AVIXA Women's Council. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thanks for having me, Steph. I appreciate it.
Of course. So the reason I'm having you join is because the Women's Council is doing something very, very new. And it just made sense to have you on the show to talk about it. So tell me a little bit about what's been going on.
So we are starting up a CTS study group. We have had one or two in the past, but they just haven't been fully successful. And I think it's because the way that we approached it in the past is that we have just had one long study group and people come in really heavy at the beginning. And then by, 3 or 4 times, it kind of fizzles out. This time we're doing a little something different. I'm kind of getting getting some feedback from some heavy hitters in the CTS world. So Chuck Espinoza and Hope Roth have been helping me kind of get some curriculum going, as far as instead of approaching it as one long study group, we're just going to have different subjects, and people could come in and out on the subjects that they need the most help with. So
Okay, yeah, that was going to be my next question, because I was like, yeah, so I guess you're going to have a certain number of sessions and people can join based on the subject that they need help with, which is kind of how this podcast functions as well. I'll just
Right.
put what you need help with in the title of the episode. But that makes a lot of sense. So is this going to be in person, or is it virtual, or both?
It'll be a virtual study group, and what we're doing is we're going to start in January, and it will lead you right up into taking your test at InfoComm in June.
Great. That's awesome. So yeah, that was the plan, that everyone will take it together at the end of the study group.
Right. Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
each subject is about something about the CTS study guide, but then the last one is basically just test taking skills.
Awesome. Are you having different people kind of lead the sessions, or is it kind of everyone just coming and kind of studying and asking their questions to one another?
That is a great question. Yes, we're going to have different teachers for each session. And what will happen is the very first session will be, kind of an orientation, get to know everyone that's going to be coming into the group. And then that first week, you will get an assignment of, okay, this is our first subject, and we want you to use these study materials to prep yourself for the very first actual education study.
Okay, awesome. And who is eligible to join these?
Really anyone. We don't have requirements, like you don't have to be part of AVIXA, although I'm sure they would like you to be. But basically, we are just a group of people trying to get our CTS guidelines, or our CTS certification. I've been saying for years that I've wanted to get my CTS, and every year I try to think about doing it, and then it kind of falls away. I think this is my year regardless. I think there's that fear of I'm going to finally put it out there and say, I'm going to do it. But this is the year I'm going to try.
That's how it's been for me too, and especially like failing the first time. I was like, oh, I just don't want to retake it. I don't want to fail it again. But I was like, you know what? Let's do it. Like, at the end of the day, like, these materials are not only helpful for me, they're helpful for everyone else. So,
right. I think hopefully by me putting it out there that I'm going to study and take it, that hopefully I'll encourage some other people that have been talking about doing it for a while. It's terrifying. I won't lie. I've been so intimidated by taking this test for so long, but I'm going to bite the bullet and do it.
What intimidates you the most, do you think?
Oh gosh, I think probably the math section. I'm horrible at math.
No. Okay. All right. Listen. That was the easiest That was
Okay.
the easiest thing to study. Like I will come
Oh,
and help anyone with the math section because that was not hard. I'm not a
okay.
math person. I've never taken a physics class in my life. And I found those things to be the easiest on the test. It was like the more
Oh,
open-ended questions about like, what would you do if you were in this situation, that I was like, I don't know. I'm not an integrator who has never been in that situation. So like I don't know. But when it
yeah.
would ask me a question about Ohm's law, I was like, that's easy. If you know the formula, you memorize the formula, you can plug it in and get it. Like I think it was just like the fact that like the right answer had to be there and you either know it or you don't. And like
Mhm.
whereas with the open-ended questions, like the ones that are meant for like more thought processes, I was like, I don't know, like a couple of these could be right. So
That I have heard like the project management sort of questions are
those
really
got
kind
me.
of, yeah, that they can be a little ambiguous, like, well, it could be this one or it could be this one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's probably another thing that maybe gets a little frightening for me too. It's
For
like,
sure.
and that's why I think we've added that test taking strategy too, because I think that that's part of the um uh not philosophy, but that's part of the taking it.
Yeah.
They say that there's certain aspects of taking a test that, like going with your first answer instead of, uh, going between a few others. But yeah, I think
Yeah.
that would be one way of hopefully helping someone that's kind of on that same plane of like, I just want
Yes.
to take it and get it done. So
The best like piece of advice that I could give that actually like helped me a lot, because like yes, I did fail, but I did almost pass. So I'm like, I still feel like my advice is good.
I think so too. I mean, just you having the experience of taking the test is valuable for people, right?
Yes.
And I think, when we get to that portion, that's one maybe we should partner with, because that's a very important aspect of this whole thing, is that just the taking the test alone.
Yes.
So
Like the best thing that I was told was you get like a whiteboard to write on, like, and do your formulas on while you're taking the test. And the best thing that I learned is as soon as they say go, just write down everything that you can remember on that whiteboard. Like have all of your formulas just like ready to go. Write down as many of them as you can. And so then they're there. And that's like something you don't have to worry about like remembering like mid test, because it's just you could have crammed for that the last second and just like written it down really quickly. So if you're like not great at like memorization, like that's something I recommend.
yeah, I think that that's great advice, because, for one thing, I didn't know you got a whiteboard to be able to kind of put those things on. And you're right. I mean, when you're in the middle of the test, you start getting more anxious, and then the memory
Mm-hmm.
starts to be like, okay, the first thing to do, write down those formulas, is really awesome advice.
So I'm really glad that y'all are going to have a session on that. Are y'all recommending that people also take the class that AVIXA offers pre-exam as well?
We haven't really talked about that yet, but I feel like that's a really good advice too. I haven't really given it that much thought. So it's
Yeah.
something that definitely I'll bring to our committee as far as how we want to handle that too.
I think maybe you could recommend it like if people are, through all the sessions and they're like, I still need more help.
Mhm.
Like I need a dedicated person who can just be there for me like 7 or 8 hours for 3 days. Like then I would be like, great, there's a class for you actually.
Yeah, the way that we structured it is like the classes end about a week before InfoComm. So I feel like it's something that we could lead into that if you wanted to go that aspect and do that kind of like that that pre class, or the class just before the test. That way it'll be like kind of like cramming for that big exam right before you go in.
My other question is, are you recommending people have any materials that they bring with them to them? Like, I'm sure you're recommending that people buy like the exam study guide.
Yeah, well, yes, you should already have the book, because that's going to be part of what we're going to be studying from. But then we're also going to have other materials that the teachers are going to pass out for each session that will kind of prep you. So that way, when you come to that session on that class, you'll be able to say, okay, I have these questions that I just either don't get this part, or what about this? You'll lead into that when you go into that session of that class.
That'll be really helpful. That was something that I had a hard time with as well. Like, because it's one thing when something's explained to you in a chapter, but then like I would find myself ending the chapters. And even though there are like questions at the end of each chapter, I would be like, how is the test going to make a question about what I just read? Like there were just some that I was like, I don't even know how they can like ask me about this.
Yeah. Well, and I'm really bad. I'm not really good at book studying. I mean, I need to kind of have it shown to me. So I feel like, if I get to a part of a chapter that's like, I don't really understand this, maybe we could have, and I shouldn't say this, and I haven't talked about this part, but like maybe the person teaching it could kind of actually show it, so that way it'll allow it to stick into my mind, because that's just the way I'm able to retain things.
Oh yeah. Like, I mean, that's usually the best way anyway, is if whoever's teaching the virtual class, like has a camera, like a document camera, kind of like a teacher would, and they're like writing things and that their camera is showing it. Cause that like definitely helped me a lot as I was like going through this and like watching what someone else did.
Yeah. I think the other thing that will make a big difference from how we tried doing this in the past is we were just doing a class once a month. This time it's going to be every 2 weeks. So hopefully being able to put more of an emphasis into like, twice a month will allow someone to go, okay, I want to invest a little bit more into it. If they're say they need more than just one subject, like for me, I'm going to do them all because I want to make sure I have everything covered before I go in. But then, it's for every level of person. For someone like me that feels like I need more of the classes, or the person that's just like, what, I really just want to do AV math and that's it. You just go to that class and like, okay, I got what I need to, push me into, the class to take the test. So
that's good. Yeah, that was another thing that I struggled with, because my big class that I did take the like big pre-show class at Infocom in 2021. It was just that there were so many different levels of us there that it was like some people had no questions ever. And I was like, every 5 seconds, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna need you to explain that one more time. So it's good that you're catering to people of all levels, because at the end of the day, it is like more than just like integrators who have been in the industry for like 10 years already, who are trying to get this like certification.
Yeah, I think that's what we were trying to keep in mind, is that, keeping it to every level of student allows, more people to come in and out when they need to. And I think that's the beauty of it, is like, you just look up the schedule and say, okay, well, I need to study this and I'm going to show up on this day, or come to every class, whichever way you want to do it.
And if it's virtual, it's not like spots are gonna run out or anything.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we put out a survey on like what most people are looking for as far as, the different subjects. I think when we put that survey out, we took the ones that people seem to be most interested in and threw those in, and the ones that didn't have as much of a response, we either put them together or we eliminated them. But we have that option of just being able to say, okay, well, here's the materials for the one that maybe we don't have. So, but I'm trying to think now. I think we've got about 12 classes. So
okay. Can I know what is the one that people wanted the most?
Well, we have the first week we have AV math.
People always that is the one that just really grinds everyone's gears. Everyone is like, I am so scared of this. But I really do think that like having someone just go over these formulas with you, and you're like, it's just like algebra. You're just like, oh my God, okay, I can totally do this. This is fine. Okay, why was I freaking out? Like, I should have been freaking out about this other stuff.
Well, the classes that we have are, so AV math, networking, digital transport protocol, video and control protocol, evaluation, operation, installation and coordination, troubleshooting, and then the last one, test taking.
Okay. That's awesome. Those will be really, really helpful for people. I will definitely be joining the AV math, the networking. Networking is a beast. I that just is not my bread and butter. I have a hard time remembering all the layers. And, I was like, I feel like I should memorize these for my test. I don't know why, but I just feel like I should. And I couldn't remember any of them. So
yeah, it's definitely, I did just kind of like that pre-test that AVIXA has on their website. And I was just like, I just need to take it all just to know where I'm going with this and study for everything. But yeah, the great thing is that you can do as much or as little as you want to.
Yeah. I live in fear of like a test question being like, what is AV over IP? I'm like, I know what it isn't, but I don't know that I can explain in words to someone what it is.
That's what I think is my biggest thing, being in the AV industry as long as I've been in different roles and stuff. And everyone's like, well, you've been in AV for 20 years. You should be able to take this test and should be a piece of cake for you. Then I look at the questions. I'm just like, do I know all this? Maybe I've been faking it until I'm making it the whole time I've been in AV. I don't know, but
no, I think it's just a lot of it is, the question is like formed in a way where you're like, I know what this is. I've just like never had to like think about what it is in words, or like I've never had to like think about what it is in this format. So like, I think you'll be fine because you have all the industry experience, but like, maybe it's like thinking about something in a different context that like might be what needs to be studied.
Yeah. And I think the roles that I've had, so what I'm hearing is a lot of it is that like project management part. And I've never been in that aspect of AV. I've sold product, but I've never done a lot of like the site visits to do project management and know that the steps of it. So that's the part that I'm really going to be concentrating on.
No, whenever it's like installation questions, I'm like, I've never installed something.
Yeah.
What I look
like. So that's the parts you have to concentrate on. The ones that, you feel like you need the most, the most help with, the most background on.
And that was honestly something that was really helpful was like Gary would have like random like connectors and he'd be like, what is this? Tell me.
You're like the pressure of knowing what connection that is.
Like XLR cable, and he's like, very good.
But I mean, that's good. Like I feel if you don't continually get that like that test taking or that keep refreshing your memory. I mean, I might learn AV math the first week, and then by the time week 4 or 5, oh wait, what was that equation? How do I do that? So to continually to run through it, it's like use it or lose it, right? So
yes, exactly. And that's another thing that's very hard, especially in like the nature of my role. And I'm sure this is true at some form for you as well, as like this, even though we're like studying this stuff, like a lot of like the nitty gritty, really technical is like not what I use every day.
Right. Yeah. And going back to AV math, I think it's funny because like they want you to know throw distance, right? And I worked for a projector company two projector companies. And I'm like, I never had to know the throw distance. I put it into a calculator. I didn't have to know it. Right.
Yeah.
Now it's like, I have to know the formula. Worked 4 years in projection and never knew how to do any of that. So
yes. And now I'm like, I have to sit and like hand calculate for this viewer. Like,
okay. Right. So I think that kind of stuff just plays in your mind. You're just like, okay, how do I do this? I haven't done it before. So, but that's why we have these study groups so that, you can learn the things that you're missing. So that way you can go in there and get it. So.
And can I ask who are a few of the instructors you have lined up so far?
We're still, we're in the process of asking people right now if they'd like to teach classes. I can confirm Hope is going to teach a class. I just don't know which one yet because we're just trying to figure out who's going to be in there and then which classes they want to teach. So I've gotten a lot of
Hope is great. So I'll join. I will follow her to wherever she tells me to go. So
she is amazing. And then I do know that Chuck is going to be helping on the test taking aspect of it. So
that's all the good tips I learned from him. So he'll be excellent as well.
Yeah, so it will be, I promise you, it'll be great instructors. We are like being very thoughtful in our process on like who's going to teach what.
Perfect.
And we did want to make it an all-female teaching class. So our teaching experience, just because it's the AVIXA Women's Council.
Right.
So we might be doing that. Although Chuck gets a free pass because he's, does all the other things. But like our hope is that all the teachers will be female. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. And I think that will also just like help encourage more women in our industry to,
yeah, because that was
certified.
Yeah, and that's definitely the messaging that we want to put out, like as many female AV people out there that want to get this done, this is your chance. We're going to have a great, like, I think all-star cast of teachers, so that makes it even more fun to offer it.
That's awesome. I'll make sure that I get that registration link from you so that I can include it in the like what I post as well. So we can make sure to hopefully get more registrations and really get this group going.
Yeah, definitely. So we're kind of rounding out the scheduling. I think we've got the schedule and the subject. That part's been organized, and now we just need to organize our teachers. And then once we have that, we'll start getting those registrations in there. Our first class is going to be the first week of January.
Okay. Very awesome. Well, I will be there. I'm also planning on taking my next test at this InfoComm. So I will be in the trenches with you.
Yep, I look forward to that. And then I've also, just by talking to some of the teachers, one or two of them don't have their CTS, and it's encouraging them to maybe also take the test. So
that's awesome.
We'll see. Maybe we'll have a whole group of people in there taking that test. So
that's awesome. Yeah, let's just get us everyone in there. Like just like 100, 200 of us just in there taking the test together. That'll be great. Really supportive.
That would be awesome. I mean, that would be an amazing goal, to have just a room full of people that have been wishing to take it for a while. And anyone that's going to be taking these classes, it would be very encouraged to see them in the room. So
that's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tammy, for hopping on and talking about it. I really do hope that a lot of people join us. I think this will encourage, because people have asked a lot on on the podcast comments and stuff. They've been like, hey, are there more resources you recommend? So like, great. Now I have here's a perfect, here you go. I have the perfect answer for you. So thank you so much for talking about it. I'm really excited about your journey. I think that you were going to pass on the first time. But I also know how much pressure that is. So I will also let you know that if you do not, it is okay.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. Of course, everyone goes in there thinking, I'm going to pass. And if I don't, I just hope that the thing out of that, I hope that comes out of it is that people just see that I'm trying, and that it'll encourage them to try too.
Exactly. And then, then you do it again, and that's all you can do.
That's right. The earth still turns, even if I don't pass it. So
exactly.
Yeah, so it'll be a great experience either way.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much again for joining. This has been another episode of Study with Steph. Thank you so much for being my guest on this episode.
Thank you very much, Steph. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Study with Steph, 'cause she's the best.